I am on record last year many times loudly saying it's an abomination. It's an idiotic rule. And the NFL has made in my opinion, a terrible mistake in not legislating a rugby play out of the NFL. And there's only one logical reason why, and that is in the NFL rules meisters' minds, competition committee and the league, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I can tell you that there are significant, important people in the National Football League who blanch every time they see this, and they just shake their head because they think that it is somebody pushing the rules too far, but the NFL didn't push back, so they're just going to keep doing it. Good for the Eagles. I'd keep doing it too. But if anybody looks at that play and says, we really like when our team, it's such a beautiful part of the game for our team to, have the quarterback pushed from the side and from behind and have a 260-pound tight end doing nothing but pushing the pile, and look, I realize it is a hard position a hard play to defend. But I will just say this. At some point, if Greg Schiano was in this league still, Mike, he'd be doing something about this. He wouldn't just be taking it. Okay, like I think too many teams just say, well, Eagles are on the half-yard line. We're not going to get our guys hurt. Have the touchdown. And again, they're not saying that. They're saying, okay, here's how we're going to defend it. But the only way to defend it, in my opinion, is the way the New England Patriots tried to defend the play at the goal line in the Super Bowl against Seattle. And that is to put your 4 heaviest defensive linemen in the game and have them, tackle to tackle across the line of scrimmage and fire off at the start of the ball, get low. And I just think until teams devote the resources to try to do that, to the point that maybe at some point where a quarterback's shoulder gets wrenched or something happens, a quarterback gets hurt, teams are just going to keep doing this. And, well, they should, because the NFL has made it possible for them to do this.
And if you see those 2 plays at the goal line, the Vikings did try something to stop it. They had a cluster of guys that rushed to the line. They timed the snap. They tried to get some push, but it just doesn't work. And this all started for one very simple reason. Prior to 2006, the NFL had in the rule books that you can't push or pull a runner in an effort to assist him to gain more yards. And they recognized that in the open field, close to the sticks, at the end of a play, what would happen is somebody comes lumbering in from behind while the player is in the process of getting tackled and shoves the player forward. And they never called it. They never threw a flag when it happened.
Yeah.
So they did the one thing that I always advocate, Peter. If you're going to have a rule that you don't enforce, get rid of the rule. Because it looks stupid to have a rule that you don't enforce. So because the officials weren't throwing a flag when the 280-pound, 320-pound lineman comes running down and shoves the pile from behind near the line to gain, they just said, let's just get rid of it. You still can't pull a player, but you can go ahead and push. And it sat there in plain sight for 16 years. And then all of a sudden, the Eagles realize, hey, you're allowed to push the player. We have the personnel to do this. We have a quarterback who's willing to do it. We have an offensive line that can get the initial push. We've got guys we can put behind him and shove him across. So we're going to do it. And there was plenty of discussion about it in the offseason. And there were people who wanted to change that rule. And it would be an easy fix. Just say within the tackle box you can't do it. You can't push a runner within the tackle box. That's it. Boom. Problem solved. Problem solved. That play is no longer in the game. And you don't have to worry about somebody trying to figure out whether to throw the flag when the lineman runs 10 yards downfield and just shoves into the pile and the guy stumbles past the yellow line. Easy. But they are so slow to act, and they wait for some major embarrassment, and then they react to it. And I think it goes back to 2019 when they tried to fix the flaw that allowed the uncalled pass interference in the NFC Championship between the Rams and the Saints. They screwed that up so badly. They're now afraid to do anything to counter something that needs to be done because of unintended consequences, because they're incapable of imagining what will or won't happen when we do things a certain way. There's a failure and an absence of any creative thought as to what happens if we change this rule. So we're not changing anything. We're not doing anything. We're not going to do it. And we're going to have this all year. And hey, the easy response is, Peter, as you said, the Eagles are taking advantage of it. Every other team can do it as well. Go ahead and do it. The only risk you're taking is one of these days, your quarterback is possibly going to get injured because you are going to have a Shiano type of an instruction to take full advantage of the fact that all protections are off for the quarterback when he decides to do that.
You know, Mike, I think you summed it up perfectly. And I think now we're just going to have to ask this question at some point this year. You know, Jalen Hurts easily could score easily. He very well could score 20 touchdowns this year on that play. And then you're going to ask yourself the question, okay, one of the best teams in football has scored 20 touchdowns. He's going to score at least 15. But 15 to 20 touchdowns this way, basically for the second straight year. I don't know how many he had last year, but he had a lot of them. And it isn't just for touchdowns. It's also for first downs. So then you're going to have to ask, I think most likely, it's one of those things that if Roger Goodell doesn't hear enough of what we're saying right now, he's going to shrug his shoulders and say, we're going to let it continue. Because that's how rules get changed in the NFL. There's collective outrage out there. And certainly you're not going to get the outrage in the 215 area code or anywhere else in the Philadelphia area. But I think, you know, there's got to be people outside of Philadelphia who say this isn't football. And until that happens, it's still going to be allowed. And by the way, Mike, you mentioned it earlier, and I hadn't really looked at Philadelphia's schedule. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing because obviously they have a really hellscape month starting in early November against Dallas, where they play Dallas, Kansas City, Buffalo, and San Francisco, and then Dallas again in succession. Okay? So, but before that, as you can see right here, Tampa Bay, Washington, at the Rams, at the Jets, at the Rodgers-less Jets, Miami at home, at Washington. It's, you know, the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm not saying they're going to be 8-0 going into that Dallas game, but I want you to pick out the loss. I mean, I guess they could lose to the Jets' great defense. They could lose if the Rams are, you know, what they look like the other day. They certainly could. Anybody can lose to Miami. But it won't be a shock if that is a match of the Titans on November 5th and the Philadelphia Eagles are 8-0.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.